Today, we're going to talk about that 1982 Lincoln Cent. Hey everybody, CFA back with you. Now, if you're anything like me, or if you're a new coin collector, when you got your Whitman album or whatever coin collecting book you got for Lincoln Cents, and you opened it up and you saw this, a whole bunch of open spaces for the 1982 cent. And you're going, what in the world is going on here? I mean, I myself, when I started, I was like, how do I know the difference here? Copper, zinc, large date, small date, what is going on? Well, today I'm going to try and help you turn that into that right there. Alright, so before I get into the small date, large date, first we're going to talk about the copper zinc. Okay, so 1982 is what they call a transition year. They changed the metal alloys that the Lincoln cents were made out of. So prior to the transition, the coins were 95% copper. After the transition, they were 97.5% zinc with just a copper coating on the outside. Now in 1982, they actually, half the year they made them with the copper and half the year they were zinc. The best ways to tell? Well, the copper pennies are going to be weighed out at 3.11 grams. So you're going to want to get yourself a scale. That's the easiest way to tell. The zinc cents, on the other hand, will weigh 2.5 grams. Now, after you've handled enough of these Lincoln cents, you can kind of tell by the feel and the look whether they're copper or copper coated. And another great way to tell is eventually the copper coating will wear away and you'll actually see zinc coming through on the cents. And any cent that you see that's deteriorating really badly, chunks of it are just worn away or rotting off there, it's going to be a zinc cent. They just do not last nearly as long as the older copper cents last. But again, the best way for you to determine whether or not it's copper or zinc to put in your collection is the weight. So 3.11 grams for the copper and 2.50 grams for the zinc. Alright, so now we know the copper zinc differences. Now we're going to jump right into that small date, large date, so we can decipher what we have now. This is an example of a small date, and this is a large date. So there's several different ways to tell. The easiest way that we here at CFA tell is that the small date has a thinner look to it, and the large date looks a bit fatter. Especially if you look down around the base of the two, you're going to have a lot more open space on the small date than you do on the large date. That's typically the first thing that catches my eye is the 2. Now you're also going to notice a difference on the 8. The 8 on the small date has a slightly smaller upper portion, upper circle, than on the large date. Also on the small date, you'll notice that the tail on the 9, the bottom of the 9, extends a little further than it does on the large date. And the bottom of the 1, the 8, and the 2 on the small date are almost perfectly aligned. And I'll show you here. If we put a line underneath of them, you can see that they're almost perfectly aligned. Now on the large date, it's very different. We'll draw a line there. See, on the large date, the 8 and the 2 are significantly lower compared to the 1 than they are on the small date. So there's several different ways for you to tell whether it's a small or a large date. Alright, so there you have it. Zinc, copper, small date, large date. Hopefully, for some of you newer collectors or maybe people who just had questions about this, we helped show you how to turn this into this. Now I will tell you that over time, the more you look at these, the quicker and easier it'll be able to tell large date from small date. Now I can usually tell even with the naked eye because I've seen so many of them, and like I said, it's that 2 that usually catches my eye. But I still do weigh out my copper and zinc just to be sure, even though I usually have a pretty good idea what it is just by the look and the feel of it. Alright, so I hope this helped some of you newer collectors out. I know that this would have really helped me out back in the day when I first started because 82s were always a big question mark for me. If you have more questions or comments, please leave it down below. Let us know what you think. Let us know how you decipher one from the other on these 82s. We appreciate all the support from the community. Thank you for watching Coins for Amateurs, and as always, keep checking that change.